2025 has arrived, and what better way to start the new year than with some fresh tips and tricks for Pokemon Go? Whether you're a new, returning, or veteran player, we've got something for everyone here, so sit back and join us for 25 tips that you should know in Pokemon Go. Welcome back, everyone. So a new year means new tips for Pokemon Go. And we've got a lot of tips today, including some classics from years past, as well as some brand new ones for features like Dynamax, showcases, and new findings around the game in general. So let's kick off the tips with a huge finding from the end of 2023, being guaranteed critical catches. We didn't report on this tip last year because people were still trying to figure out how it worked. But now we know. Critical catches are a random occurrence in Go, and instead of a Pokeball wiggling 3 times before catching, it does it once and instantly catches. Now in normal gameplay, this always has a chance of happening, though it's fairly rare, but if you successfully hit the smallest possible catch circle on a Pokemon, you can actually guarantee a critical catch. It's definitely difficult to pull off, but very rewarding. Now there is a bit of a catch when doing this trick, as it only works on Pokemon with a base catch rate higher than 10%. So while it works on many Pokemon, it unfortunately doesn't include the hardest to catch Pokemon like Final Evolutions and Legendaries, including those pesky Galar birds. But any other normal Pokemon with an 11% or higher catch rate is fair game. For our second tip, we have one that we've discussed before that's a huge help, and that's to use the quick catch method. This two-handed technique speeds up catching Pokemon dramatically. By pulling either the berry or Pokeball menu to the opposite side of the screen, you can still throw your Pokeball with your other hand, then once you release the menu, you'll get the option to run from the encounter early. As long as you hit the Pokemon with your ball, and assuming the Pokemon actually caught, you'll have performed a quick catch. And if it didn't catch, you can always jump back into the encounter, as long as it didn't flee. Just be careful though with this technique, especially Pokemon on Incense that can despawn. Now tip number 3 is another way to speed up your gameplay, specifically with skipping the gift opening animation. When going through your friends' gifts, it can definitely be tedious and take a while to open them all, but if you didn't know, you can easily skip this animation by tapping the X button right as you open the gift. You still get all the rewards and the friendship interaction you normally would, just a bit quicker. Now the next couple tips come in handy if you're low on healing items, which happens to me a lot during Rocket Takeover events. For one, gyms specifically tend to give more healing items like potions and revives compared to stops, which typically provide more catching related items. Obviously you'll still get Pokeballs and berries from gyms, but if you're specifically aiming to replenish your healing items, definitely aim for gyms. Our 5th tip on our list offers an alternative to using a revive if you're in a pinch. If you're low or even out of revives, Pokemon can sometimes be revived by powering them up. Powering up a Pokemon gives it more overall stats, including HP, so typically powering up a Pokemon once or twice will give them an extra HP point, which also revives them if they're fainted. This isn't always useful though, depending on whether your Pokemon is maxed out or not, but still another way to revive them if you're out of revives. The next tip on our list is related to the recently released Dynamax feature. As we discussed in a previous video, these bubbles will boost your Dynamax meter's energy, and while it isn't instructed in the game, you actually need to swipe your Pokemon and dodge into these bubbles, rather than just tapping on them. Another Dynamax related tip comes with using a tank Pokemon up front to take hits and charge the Dynamax meter, then switching to an attacker during the Dynamax phase. For G-Max battles in particular, it's actually recommended that you don't use charge moves for your tank Pokemon, seeing that it's faster and more efficient to keep using fast attacks to charge the Dynamax meter. Up next on our 2025 tips list, we have a showcase tip. This one is fairly known, but if you weren't aware, you can actually remove yourself from a showcase by switching one of your other Pokemon already in a showcase. Obviously, this can't always be done if you're in showcases with different species of Pokemon, but when you're in an all-in-one type or single species showcase, you can remove yourself to potentially have a better chance of winning a different one. For tip number 9, we're talking about eggs, specifically the special eggs that come from Mateo gifts after a route. When encountering Mateo at the end of a route, he'll offer to do a special gift swap with another trainer in the world, and just like how normal gifts you receive from friends can provide 7km eggs, so can these gifts. However, Mateo's 7k gift eggs have a special pool of Pokemon. For the Dual Destiny season, the standard 7k eggs have regional variants, while Mateo's eggs have a few Hisui forms, Basculin, Pancham, and the incredibly powerful and hyped Galarian Corsola. For some, this may be a more enticing egg pool than regular gift eggs, so it might be worth chasing after. Just know that you can only swap one gift with Mateo each day, so if you want one of these eggs, make sure to have an open spot in your egg pool before swapping gifts. Now tip number 10 is a small feature that's been around for a while, but it's easy to forget or almost miss entirely. When choosing your team for raids, PvP, rockets, or gym battles, you can press and hold a Pokemon in your storage to see their moveset. And this is especially helpful if you have multiple versions of a Pokemon with different movesets, like if you want to make sure you're bringing fire moveset Chandelures to a raid instead of your ghost type ones. Now if you've played up to rank 20 or higher in the Go Battle League, you'll get a nice chunk of Stardust at the end of the season, but if you use a star piece, you can get 1.5 times the Stardust before entering the battle tab to claim your rewards. There's no going back once you've clicked the tab during the new season though, so remember to pop a star piece beforehand. Depending on the highest rank you achieved in the last season, you can earn a ton of additional Stardust this way. So getting towards the halfway point of our 2025 tips, our next 2 tips are going to be some really helpful resources that people have developed for the game. On the PvP side of things, if you're trying to learn move counts to get better at the GBL, using Pokemoves.com can be a great resource. It allows you to go through all currently available Pokemon with any of their current movesets to get their move counts. For example, say you're facing a Wigglytuff with Charm. Well, if we take a look at Wigglytuff's chart, you can see that after the 6th Charm, they'll have enough energy to hit Swift at 35 energy. And if they keep using Charm, at their 8th move they'll have enough energy to get Icy Wind. It also shows you subsequent move counts if they have residual energy, like if Wigglytuff used Icy Wind, it would only take 7 charms to get to the 2nd one. Another useful resource out there that's great for determining box value is PokestealerDeal.com. This website lets you put a box's contents into the system to determine how good of a discount you're actually getting with it. You can also just enter the content that you care about like raid passes and incubators, while removing fluff items like Pokeballs and berries. But not only that, you can also look at a list of the best deals out there for premium passes, remote passes, and incubators. And just a reminder, this video isn't sponsored by them, it's just a great resource that we really like to use, so a big shout out to those developers for those sites. Now moving on to tip 14, here's a really simple tip for evolving Inkay. If you ever wonder how to evolve this topsy-turvy squid Pokemon, just turn your phone upside down. The evolution button will then appear properly, and you can evolve Inkay into Malamar. Now for tip 15, we've got one for you Vivillon collectors. You can acquire all of Vivillon's forms from pinning gifts from friends to rack up each respective region's meter, letting you catch a scatterbug for that specific region when you successfully fill that meter. But did you know you can pin your own gifts to count towards these meters? Obviously it would be based on the area the gift comes from, but you can pin 3 different gifts of your own each day to give yourself additional points on your Vivillon meter. But up next for tip number 16, we have a trading related tip. Every Calm Day event offers a 50% trade cost, which not only helps with re-rolling a lot of Calm Day Pokemon with a friend, but it's also a great time to do more expensive trades. So if you and another player are planning on doing a trade that would cost a lot of dust, like a shiny legendary or one you don't have, holding off until a Calm Day could save you both a whole chunk of dust. Now for tip 17, we've got another tip for those who are low on revives. Maybe you've been out grinding raids or Team Go Rocket grunts and end up with a ton of fainted Pokemon and not enough revives for them all. Well, outside of the healing item, you can instantly revive some of your Pokemon by Mega Evolving them. This will instantly heal any Mega eligible Pokemon to full health. This is why I sometimes use these Pokemon in gyms, because I don't have to use any items to fully heal them. Just Mega Evolve them once they return to me to get them back to full health. Now tip 18 is fairly simple, but one that's really important for new players. If you encounter a shiny legendary, mythical, or ultra beast from raids, it'll be a guaranteed catch. So put away those golden Razzes, because you should be using a Pineapple on it. Also a bit of a sub tip for this tip, shiny legends found in the wild like roaming legendaries for tours or shiny Galarian birds are not guaranteed catches, but they won't flee on you. So long as you have enough balls in your storage, you should be able to catch them. Now another important factoid with Pokemon Go comes with Frustration, the awful charge move that every Shadow Pokemon starts off with. During Rocket Takeover events that happen roughly once every season, you'll get the opportunity to remove Frustration permanently. And don't worry, there's zero reason to ever want this move. Now when it comes to Shadow Pokemon with Community Day charge moves, Frustration must be removed if you want to get that move by evolving it. The exclusive move always goes in the first charge move slot of a Pokemon, so double moving your Shadow Pokemon unfortunately won't rectify this issue. Earlier this year, we tried evolving Shadow Mankey for Rage Fist, and the one without Frustration got it when evolved, while the one that had Frustration did not. For tip number 20, we have a great service that we've talked about a few times on the channel. Google Opinion Rewards is an easy way to earn free Pokecoins and other monetary credit for Pokemon Go. You'll periodically get surveys to answer, which awards credit in return. Then if you're on an Android device, you can use this for Google Play Rewards Cash, which can be redeemed in Go. But even if you have an iOS device, you can still cash out through PayPal, then use that money in Go. On to tip 21, we have one that's useful if you're trying to fill out your Pokedex. The Evolve New search string will show all Pokemon whose evolutions you still need to register in your Pokedex. This will also bring up any Mega eligible Pokemon that you have to Mega Evolve, but you can exclude them by adding the following search string. Next, we've got a small quirk that comes with Morpeko and its form changing mechanic. If you didn't already know, with NPC battles like Rocket Grunts and Leaders, every time you switch a Pokemon or use a charged move, the opponent will pause for about 2 seconds, letting you get some extra hits in before they resume attacking. There's also several ways to exploit this to make events like Rocket Battles easier, and Morpeko is one of these exploits. The Electric Dark type changes forms every time it uses a charged move, and this form change adds some additional delay to the opponent. So if you're having trouble taking Rocket Battles down, Morpeko could be a huge help. 23's tip involves another form-changing mechanic involving a Pokemon you can only get for a few days a year. As you know, Furfrou was one of the first to implement a form-changing mechanic, with it being able to change into 8 special trims that were available at launch. But did you know there's a 9th trim you can only get during the Valentine's Day event each year? During this limited event window, you can trim your Furfrou to get its heart form, but like we said, it's only available for a few days. 2024's Valentine festivities was only a 3-day event, and there's no telling what 2025's will look like. So if you want this Furfrou trim for your collection, make sure to set a reminder to form change it during the Valentine's Day event in February. Up next for our penultimate tip, we'll show you how to evolve Ursaluna without a full moon. As we discussed last year, you can only evolve Ursaluna either during a real-life full moon event or some other specific in-game events. But with the introduction of Necrozma's fusion forms, we gained another way to evolve Ursaluna. With Dawnwing's Necrozma's Moongeist Beam Adventure effect, you can temporarily trigger a full moon, allowing you to evolve Ursaring into Ursaluna at any time. Alright, this brings us to our 25th tip, but before we reveal our final tip, we want to know if you guys have any Pogo tips of your own. We'd love to hear them to help out the community, so feel free to comment them down below. Now on to our final and arguably best tip on our list. We have a way to share premium items, specifically star pieces, incense, and lucky eggs. If you're using party play with other players, you'll gain the ability to split these items with the rest of your party. Now while it does reduce the time you each get on them, there are still some advantages. If you have a party of 4, you can all split one of each item, giving you double the regular item duration. Additionally, if you're a lower level player in a party with higher level players, they could share some of their lucky eggs with you to get a nice boost of XP. I mean, does a level 50 player really need 50 plus lucky eggs? And they'll get some XP too, so I see this feature as a win-win, and it's definitely one that you should be taking advantage of if you're playing in a group in 2025. And those are 25 tips that you should know for Pokemon Go. We hope you found our tips to be informative, and if you have any of your own, definitely comment them down below. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing for more tips and tricks. We're already working on our next tips guide for Go, so stay tuned for that. So until then, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.